One. Boom. All right, ladies and gentlemen, a formula for high profitable companies. That's what we're going to talk about. Plus, our guest has a really cool name. Rare is what it's all about. So let's jump into this one. Here we go.
Shut up and sit down.
Look, a business can give you everything you want in life. Prestige, wealth, freedom. It can also take everything away from you. This show is for those who are willing to take that risk. These are the real life stories of entrepreneurs. But before we start, I have one small favor to ask. Please leave a comment. It can be advice, critiques, tips, feedback, or share this with someone because your engagement is the most valuable and most powerful form of social currency. So thank you, and welcome to another episode of Business Bros.
All right, business bros. Today we have a remarkable entrepreneur who has cracked the code to achieving unparalleled freedom in both time and finances. With over 2 decades of experience in building highly profitable businesses operated by a team of virtual assistants, he's living proof that there's a level of freedom that is attainable. It's a pleasure to welcome to the show a true advocate of family values and entrepreneurial success, the one and only Mr. Joe Ray.
Thanks,
Joe,
man.
welcome to the program, man.
Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Of course, man. All right, let's start off with the basic question at the very beginning. What do you do, man? What is it that you are here offering? What do you do for a living?
I build business in silence. So somebody once coined that I was an underground entrepreneur because I don't. Anything that you see that's published, it's not me. I don't publish anything. I don't really use social media personally. My team does everything, and so my claim to fame has been that I build businesses that are run by virtual assistants so that I can spend time with my kids and my wife and, our animals and travel and live a life of freedom.
That's what I'm talking about. I mean, at the end of the day, that's what you got into business in the first place. The American dream is about having that time freedom, financial freedom and time freedom to do what you want to do. And you're literally building a company kind of the right way. I think a lot of entrepreneurs don't start doing their business the right way. They kind of take on a job rather than build a true business. You're kind of taking a different approach. Who are you going after? Who's that target audience that you're hoping to speak to?
Well, it depends which business, because I have 6 right now that are running. And so with 6 different companies, we have different target audiences. For Level 9 Virtual, it's a virtual assistant services company. So our core audience is small businesses. It's, it could be the everyday, home services business. It can be dental offices that need to get some, admin stuff off their books. It's marketing agencies that need us to serve their clients and everything in between. But the small business niche is who we've kind of grown into. A huge portion of our client base is agencies, just simply because we focus primarily in the marketing realm when it comes to our services in Level 9 Virtual. So
Perfect. Let me ask you about your educational journey, because I know you can go to college and get a degree, an MBA, or all kinds of different stuff. And I've talked to entrepreneurs who've gone that route all the way up to the PhD route, and some of them who never decided to go to college because the skill set that they were looking for wasn't there. What was your educational journey like? What kind of education do you have, or did you have to build what you've been building?
Well, so I went right out of high school. I went to college because I was going to walk on and play basketball. And then when I realized I wasn't going to get to play, I was going to sit the bench. After 2 years of that, I decided that it was probably a better idea to go start a business. So I dropped out of school after my second year, built a business, my first business. We did a lot of door-to-door sales of products and all that. And it was a good foot in the door to everything that I've done ever since, because it was heavy in sales. So my biggest educated piece, I think, to running businesses has been my ability to go learn how to sell. And that's been huge. And so, sales the hard way. If you can learn how to go walk in and knock on a door and sell somebody something that's literally in your hands at that minute, it's pretty powerful. And so from there, sales has been the backbone of me building anything that we've ever built, whether it's negotiating on a deal, it's negotiating on, a service, it's, negotiating with clients or whatever. Sales has been the backbone of everything that I've been able to accomplish.
Sales is the key. And let me ask you, like, if you can go back and give some advice to someone who's just getting started, or to you as you were just getting started. Sales is one of those things where not everybody wants to get into it. It has a negative stigma, but everybody does it, right? Everybody does it,
100%.
whether you're selling yourself to your significant other or selling to your parents to let you go out somewhere. You're selling all the time. What advice would you give to somebody who's getting started in business and fears that four-letter word of a sale?
Get over the fear. So the fastest way to get over the fear is to do the thing that you're fearful of. So go do it. And actually what makes it even easier is that there is sales training everywhere. There's great sales training that you can buy for a fraction of the value. But if you learn sales early, the earlier you learn it, the more money you'll make over your lifetime. And that is hands down. So the number one skill that I have is the ability that I can sell. So, and it works in both directions. It goes for selling to sell your services, but it also goes to selling in the form of negotiating on the other end if you're buying something. So when anybody in my family is going to go buy anything, a piece of real estate, a car, anything, they call me and I go negotiate deals for everybody in my entire family, because no salesman's going to oversell me. I'm going to make sure that we get the right deal, that we get because it's who I am. And then it goes into communication. Sales is essentially communicating effectively. It's communicating value. It's communicating, learning how to close and learn how to ask for the things that you want. It's very nerve-wracking for people to ask somebody else for money. But if you have to run a business, you have to ask people for money. And so exercising that muscle of asking is super, super important.
All right, so you're the family negotiator. So you're the one. So I gotta ask you, do you have kids? Like, is there a negotiating strategy that you use with them to get your way? 100%. Like, how do you get them to clean their room?
That's right. Everything's negotiations with kids. Both of my daughters are unbelievable at negotiating already, and I think that they just watch me. They hear me. They see me do it consistently. I do it with them. And so I think that they pick those things up and they're already getting pretty good at negotiating. So I don't know if it's a good thing or a bad thing, but we'll find out.
Are they coming back at you now? Now it's like, how old did you say they were?
They're 10 and 8. So they're still young.
10 and 8.
Yeah.
Okay. So my daughter's 14. She just got her first boyfriend recently. And it's one of those situations where I'm like, happy for her, but at the same time, it's like I can't believe my kid's growing up so fast.
Yeah.
And I know some of those negotiation skills are going to come back at me and be like, Dad, can I go? Blah blah blah. How you as a parent, how do you transition those skills over and then not worry about them coming back at you using them?
Well, I think if they're respectfully using them and they're doing it with proper intent and proper reasoning, I don't find any problem with them negotiating with me. So, right now it's, they're negotiating on a Barbie, or they're negotiating on, they want a treat of some sort. And that negotiation, like they gotta bring the value. Like what's the upside? What's going to happen? We'll give you some sugar and then you're going to bounce off the walls and everything's going to go south. So explain to me, negotiate with me. How is it going to get better if I give you ice cream? Like, you better win this argument. If you're not winning the argument, you're not getting ice cream. And so it's those 100%. Kinds of things that I think that if they're doing them right, it's valuable. Right now they're negotiating on us getting them horses because next year they're going to do rodeo. And so we live in Montana. So, it's a redneck capital of the world. So here we go. But the girls they're negotiating to do rodeo. Well, they got a lot of work to do to negotiate to get a horse. And both of them are working their butts off. So it's good.
No, that definitely is good. All right, let me ask you about becoming the family negotiator and being able to develop those skills. Obviously didn't come overnight. You weren't born with them and all of a sudden you were like perfect at it. You made some mistakes along the way. What are some of the bigger mistakes you've made in business and what were the lessons that you learned from them?
So, some of the biggest mistakes is, getting into deals that are bad because I don't do my due diligence on the front end. Right. Recognizing, being able to understand the value of an opportunity or what it turns out not to be an opportunity. So saying yes to the right things, those are super important. I used to actually just negotiate on things just to negotiate on things. So you end up just getting into deals that aren't as good. I've made some huge mistakes in business, negotiating contracts with employees. negotiating partnerships that didn't work out, buying real estate that ended up not being the right fit for the right time, in my life, and making huge mistakes there. The biggest lessons coming out of it is not making the same mistake twice. Right. Which I've been, thankful for in that. And then, I've gotten pretty good at documenting my big, huge failures, and putting them down into some sort of context, whether it's audio, whether it's written, just so that I can review and go back and say, okay, well, what else can I pull out of that? We had a huge one last year. We lost an employee that I pushed and negotiated for her to take a higher role in the company. And I find out that was actually the wrong role for her. She should never have been offered that role. It wasn't what she wanted. It wasn't where her core skill set was, but I felt like it was the next advancement for her that I wanted for her. And how weird is it? The business owner wants to pay you more money and give you a bigger responsibility. The problem was that role was going to deteriorate, and she was going to do terrible at it. I didn't recognize it. I missed all of the signs, and I ended up losing the employee, and we had this huge gap in the business we had to go fill. And so it was a huge, huge mistake that I had to come back around and realize. And so, that was one that's just recently been big. It was last year, and won't make that one twice.
Yeah. Well, and it's funny because you're also in managing people here. You've built businesses basically underground. Nobody really knows that it's you because you have those teams running those things for you. And yet you're describing here how you pushed the team member in the wrong direction and ended up losing that whole team member and that whole situation altogether. Lesson learned, you move forward. Now you're helping build your companies with a bunch of teams. What's that experience like when you try to transition it to a small business that maybe has those doesn't have those polished management skills for team members? How do you help take that lesson and put it into place to help your clients succeed when it comes to bringing on VAs?
Well, I think, when it comes to bringing on VAs, that for us, we've gotten really, really effective at that. And so one of the biggest lessons that I can share with a small business owner is understanding strengths versus weaknesses, letting people really leverage their strengths instead of trying to improve areas they're not great at. It's easier just to put two people in place, one who's amazing here and one who's amazing here, and just leave it at that, right? Let them do what they're great at. But one thing, I actually had a coaching call with somebody earlier, and one of the things we came out with that was really, really important is when you're building your team, recognizing the time that it's going to take to train them, to build them up in their role, to get them really good and documenting processes, creating those SOPs, working to make sure that they're very fluent and effective at what you're going to ask them to do. And there's going to be a period that's an investment. You will not have a return on that investment in that short period of time. That might be a year, or it might be a month. It might be 6 months. We don't know. Every role is going to be different, but recognizing that you're going to have to work through that. And that period of time is absolutely an investment. Number one, without a return, you're not going to see a return, and being willing to put that investment forward in that person. Then what you'll end up with is processes, procedures, scripts, whatever it is, that have an infinite return because you built them once and you can replicate and use them over and over. So an example, you bring in a VA and you want them to do prospecting and you want them to help build. It's going to take time for them to get good. It's going to take time for them to understand the script and work out the messaging and all the things they're going to do. But once you have it, you could put 10 people into the same process and your results grow exponentially. So it's a short-term investment for a long-term or infinite return on investment.
Yeah, I think a lot of companies kind of mess up there. They try to bring somebody on, they don't develop the SOPs, they don't develop the processes, and then the person works out maybe for a little while, maybe it doesn't work out, and all that time is wasted. The turnover of employees can be so expensive and so time consuming if you don't do it properly. So let me ask you, what do you feel your company does best? What are you guys really, really good at?
It's positioning the right team member for the right role, but I say that with a caveat. It's a specialist. So what we don't do is provide generalists that are kind of mediocre at a whole bunch of different things. No, it's like you need somebody in your business that does digital, that does graphic design. We're going to give you a great graphic designer. You need somebody who can do prospecting. They're going to do prospecting really well. You need somebody who's going to run, media buying. They're going to just do that. What we're not going to do is give somebody who, they can kind of do some stuff and design some things, and then they're going to kind of make some outbound, calls or emails, and then they're going to kind of be able to manage a website. We don't do that. Put people in their strengths and let them thrive. And we're really, really good at taking somebody's their job description. Here's what the role I'm trying to fill. And we actually fill it with somebody who has that core skill set. And then we consistently help them grow through their career. And that's what we're really, really good at.
How do I know that the person that you're bringing on is competent at those skill sets? I mean, I can go to Fiverr, look somebody up, Upwork, look somebody up, but it's really going to be difficult to judge them until I actually bring them on. You guys are obviously vetting them beforehand. Yeah. What's that process like so that an entrepreneur feels comfortable saying, look, I know this company's already vetting them. This is why I want to go with level 9.
So we have a service called projects on demand. We call it our pod system, projects on demand. And what that is that, if somebody wants to dip their toe in and just say, hey, I've got some things on my plate. I need to get them off. I need something designed. I need a flyer made. I need a video edited. I need somebody to, update my website, whatever the case may be. All of these different skill sets we actually can do on a project basis. So they can buy a block of hours, 25, 40 hours to use over an entire month. And they can test us. Submit projects, 25 hours of projects. When we succeed 25 hours in a row, right, it's going to be a no-brainer. But here's the cool part is that almost every single VA that we place to work with a client on a dedicated basis, where they're going to work one-on-one in their business, they've already been working with us internally in our pod. They could have done 100 projects with clients. They're already doing what we say they can do for paid hours every day. So when we hand them to somebody else, they've already been doing it. We know they can do it because they've passed every test that we have. We vetted them out. We know who they are. We know their personality profile. We know everything about them. And we've watched their skill set develop working directly with our clients. So that's
a good process. I love that process because it's like a win-win. You're not only getting the benefits of using that VA skill set, developing them as an individual, but you're also putting in the projects that are needed. Because a lot of these companies are like, look, I don't want to sign a long-term contract. I've never used you guys before. I've never done any of that. How about we work on this one thing? And you're literally giving them the opportunity to test it out. Not just that. The dynamic between employer and employee, that starts to develop there as well. So they start to kind of learn from each other what's expected, what that turnaround time, what the communication level is. It's almost like you're leasing a vehicle for a little while, and eventually you're like, okay, I want to buy this one, right?
Yeah, 100%. That's perfect. That's exactly how it works.
Dude, that's awesome. I love that. That's a great process. In any business, though, I feel like there's always things that you feel you can improve upon or things that you're struggling with in your business. Where do you feel like your company is that next growth phase? Where are you struggling with or building on right now?
One area, it's kind of a weird area. Not everybody has it, but it's going to be, we have a weird balance because we have 2 sales processes. So most businesses, they have to sell to the end consumer or the end business that they're doing business with. They sell their service or they sell their product and then they fulfill it. For us, we actually have 2 sides. We have to actually recruit virtual assistants, which is selling them to work in our company. And then number 2, we have to sell clients to get them to buy the services. So we have this balance where we sell services, but we have to have the VAs to fulfill the services or VAs on staff ready to be hired. But then you get somebody who comes out of nowhere and asks for something completely kind of not what we would, have in inventory as an example. We don't really have it in inventory. We don't have a VA in stock that has that. We have to go recruit them. And the speed to execution on that recruitment to get them in, our process, because we try to do so much due diligence, it's longer than I would hope for. So our biggest factor right now that we're really working on is streamlining that process down and trying to shorten that timeline, so that we can have that delicate balance between clients, ready for VAs available for clients, and making sure that lag is just as short as humanly possible.
Yeah, that's tough, man. That's tough because on the one hand, you have your sales team over there trying to acquire clients, and
Yeah.
then one of them lands a whale, and now you got to come and like get that talent to come in to really support that whale. That's awesome. It's a great problem to have, but I can
Yeah.
see why the efficiency needs to come down a little bit to be able to get somebody from prospect to train to onboard it as quick as
Perfect.
possible.
Yep.
It's definitely a struggle. I think the employment struggle is real across the country,
Oh, it's everywhere.
across the world, no matter
Yeah.
where you go. Where are these VAs that you're going for? Where are we? If we're bringing somebody aboard, where can we expect to have this population of VAs coming from?
We use the Philippines. Yeah. So we're 99% in the Philippines.
Love it, love it. I'm Mexican, so it's they're like my cousins almost.
Yeah, exactly. I know, it's so funny. Every time I see somebody that gets hired and they have like a Spanish last name, I always laugh because I'm just like, it's that Spanish influence down into the Philippines, but it always makes me laugh when I'm like, that is literally like a Mexican last name. It's awesome.
Yeah, no, and I think what people are coming to realize is that the talent pool around the world is tremendous. We don't have to always hire right here at home, although sometimes there's jobs available that need to be done in person, and that's
Yeah.
great. But there's a lot of jobs where you can get equal or even better talent and save your bottom line, because at the end of the day, your company's about ensuring that profitability and making sure that you have that financial freedom you're looking for. So being able to hire where the thing is, you feel like you're not paying as much here, but the lifestyle that you're providing for people over there is tremendous, right? Talk
Yeah.
about that what you're doing for people over there in the Philippines that come work for you.
Yeah. So it's interesting. So you started that out, and one of the first things that I always kind of tell people when they think about like, well, it's kind of weird to hire overseas, right? Am I going to get less quality because I'm going overseas? I always like to tell this kind of little caveat. I'm a college dropout, but my lead developer that works internally for my company, he has a master's degree and he's a professor at the university. So the education, we can get people with college degrees. We can get people with master's degrees. The education level and the experience level, sometimes it can be better because there's so much competition, in the United States or locally, wherever you are in a Western country. And there's just not as much in some of these other, overseas company locations. But as far as, I forgot, what was the second half of the question? I apologize.
The lifestyle that you're providing for them.
So one thing people don't understand is that a lot of times, specifically, I'm speaking to the Philippines because that's where my experience is. They'll have 2 to 3 generations of family living under one roof. And a lot of times, the one person we work with that works with our company, the one is the only person working in 3 generations of people living in their house.
Ouch.
It is phenomenal that you can take one human being and have that cascade down to what could be 8 and 10 different people who are being benefited because you employed one. Then it's amazing to see when we get a husband and a wife who both work with us. Well, right now, one of our team leads, he works with us. His daughter works with us. His cousin works with us. And then there's others. There's another one we found. I didn't even know this, but there's husband, wife, daughter, cousin, like a whole crew, and they all work with us. And the amount of people that actually impacts is actually, it's not even comprehensible. I don't even know how many people. That could be 100 people that those employees have impacted because they work with us. You're creating something that isn't, it's not just a job and then a family of 3, and that's what you're providing for. I mean, the impact is everything that you think of in kind of a Western society, multiply it by 3, and that's at least who you're impacting. So it's incredible what we've been able to provide over there. I mean, we're helping hundreds of thousands of people at the least.
Yeah. That's the difference, right? I mean, we don't realize how much that dollar can really stretch out when you're employing people around the world. All right, last question for you. What's the vision of the future for your company? Where do you see yourself going from here?
We're going to continue to build staff and help small businesses. We've got a mission to kind of get to, someday get to 10,000 clients. That, when you think about 10,000 clients here, the amount of people that it takes to run a company with 10,000 clients, now you have this huge, gigantic impact that could be, in the course of 1 million, family members and so forth. The impact could be huge. So our growth and everything is really focused around the VAs and their families, and how can we impact more people and provide more opportunity. And I think that's where we're going to pay the most attention, is how can we continue to provide opportunity for people who maybe don't have it, or people who just haven't had it. And so that's kind of where we're focused right now.
Awesome. Joe, you are definitely a rare individual. Is that name given to you at birth, or did you kind of grow on it? Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Then you were rare at birth, my friend. Thank you very much for coming on the show.
It.
If people want to reach out to you, dude, if they want to find out more about the VAs that you have, the services that you have to offer, or any of the other businesses, how can they do that?
Level9virtual.com. That's easy. Joe at level9virtual.com. You can reach out anytime.
Perfect, my brother. Perfect. All right, man. I got one last selfish question.
Sure.
I'm sure you've been doing a lot of different podcasts, creating content like crazy, or at least your VAs have. What was your experience like today being on the Business Bros?
Oh, it's great. You asked great questions. I actually asked some different questions that I haven't been asked recently, which is always good. Makes me think in a different perspective, makes me focus somewhere else, which has been seems a little bit more on the culture side and the VA side. It's been a good experience. I like your guys' setup. I like how you guys are using StreamYard, and you're actually leveraging the platform well. Very cool. I was actually, right when we started, I was like, oh, there's some cool stuff I gotta, look at these guys for. So it's great.
Appreciate it, man. Appreciate you taking the time coming out. Ladies and gentlemen, that's it. If you're in business and you need a little bit of help, maybe you should be considering getting some outside service, using a virtual assistant. And not all VA companies are built the same. You guys got to hear from Joe exactly what he's doing out there to help not only grow his companies internally, but helping other companies grow as well. All the impact that he's doing out there in the Philippines and where they expect to go from here. So make sure you guys check out level9virtual.com, level9virtual.com, or shoot him an email, Joe at level9virtual.com, to get more information. Joe, thank you very much for being on the show today. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace. And we're out.
All right.
It's over. Go home. Is your business in need of marketing? Try starting a podcast. But not just any podcast. Podcast like a pro. We can show you how to take your business from being invisible to becoming a brand people trust. Go to www.businessbros.biz to get started today.